Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? Welcome back to the Health by Haven podcast. We officially have a three-peat guest on the show today. Dr. Brittany Rohrer Sanders is a pediatric and perinatal family chiropractor who has a passion for helping families improve their health with a holistic approach. She opened her practice, Foundation of Stone Pediatric and Perinatal Family Chiropractic, in May 2024, focusing on enhancing nervous system function through gentle chiropractic adjustments. Dr. Brittany and her business are huge partners of the Health by Haven podcast, and I feel so aligned with the preventative healthcare work she's doing for the world. Dr. Brittany was on episode 36 discussing chiropractic care and nervous system function, and it was the #1 most downloaded episode of 2025. She was back on the show for episode 91 to discuss perinatal and infant chiropractic care. Today's episode focuses specifically on chiropractic care for babies, toddlers, children, and teens. She walks through each phase of life, what stressors children are facing at each stage, how these stressors might appear as symptoms, and how chiropractic care can alleviate issues that arise. There is so much great information parents and anyone really can learn from on how the nervous system is connected to physical and mental health. So let's get into today's episode with Dr. Brittany Rohrer Sanders. Brittany, welcome back for the third time to the Health by Haven podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me again. I reluctantly listened to myself on the previous episodes. I'm not a public speaker, and like every person you bring on is so eloquent with their words. And so I apologize. I'm trying not to say so well and like be much better this time. So, but thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, of course. And I think we're all our own worst critics, So don't be so hard on yourself. You're providing such great information for people to learn, and that's at the crux of this. So with that, let's get into it. For people who haven't listened, I just want to give a little plug. You were first on episode 36, kind of generally talking about chiropractic care, especially as it relates to nervous system function. And then you were on the show again on episode 91, chatting about chiropractic care for mothers-to-be, for new moms, and for babies. So people should definitely go back and listen to those. But today, you're going to give another little spiel on chiropractic care, and also we're really going to focus in on care for children. So everyone listen back to the other ones, stay in and listen for this one. But can you give us, start with an overview of chiropractic health, who could benefit from it, what it's all about?
Yes, definitely. So a lot of times whenever I tell people that I primarily see babies, pregnant women, kids, and young adults, their most common response is, why? Like, why would a baby need to be adjusted? Why would a child? And typically these adults are kind of stuck in this older pain-based chiropractic model that was like really easy to market, and they got great results and insurance pays for that. But they don't really know the whole story of chiropractic care and what chiropractic care can really do based off of your nervous system. And, other times they think, most kids don't really have pain, so why would they need to be adjusted? And then they also have concerns, like they look at all these videos of adults being adjusted online. And those are typically not even what real adjustments look like day to day. They're typically not that intense for adults, let alone kids. But it's just totally different with adjusting kids and babies. And so I'll get more into that as we go along too. But going into more of the philosophy and science of chiropractic, one of our like foundational things that we believe in is that the power that made the body can heal the body. So the body is designed to heal, regulate, grow, and adapt. And that's when communication within the body is functioning well. So when we're able to adapt to stress appropriately, the body continues functioning the way it was designed to. But when the body becomes overwhelmed by stressors and can't adapt as efficiently anymore, that's when the dysfunction start showing up. So we can think of stress as like three different types. We can think of traumas, toxins, and thoughts. And we can think of that as like physical stressors, chemical stressors, and emotional or mental stressors. So most people think of the physical stressors, falls, sports injuries, car accidents, but it can even just be repetitive movements, like doing the same exact motion day after day at a job, or even with sports, if it's like very one-sided, like baseball or golf, you're just doing the one direction over and over again. And it's like all of those little micro things over time that add up.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you explained that and broke it down. I like the categories because I was going to ask you, like, what could stressors look like? Because I know it can be different things for different people.
Yes, yes. A lot of people, once they start getting really health conscious, they look into like the chemical stressors, like overly processed foods, environmental toxins, like fragrances, and even medications fall into that. And so that's a lot of like the at-home things that people can do to try to like limit their exposures to those certain toxins. But sometimes it's unavoidable. The air we breathe, the water we drink, sometimes it's hard to find a great choice with those things. But it just brings on like more awareness that that can be a stressor to the body.
Okay. So say somebody, they're using fragrances, they're using laundry detergents that have a bunch of fragrances, they're lighting candles, all of that. They're getting like environmental toxins. How would that, like, what would the symptoms show up for them to cue them to be like, oh wait, like something's up and they could benefit from this chiropractic care?
So it can show up different ways. It could show up as like a rash or eczema. It could also show up as like digestive distress, or like having a lot of like food intolerances or allergic reactions to certain things. Like especially with fragrances, like maybe feeling sick to your stomach after being by someone with a really strong cologne. That sort of thing can clue in like the body doesn't like all of those things that aren't like naturally from the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of overburdens the system. And it's typically not the only stressor that we encounter during the day. And that's why our body has trouble in certain instances processing that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. And then the like emotional stressors are thoughts. That could be like anxiety, being kind of overstimulated by things. It could be being in a job you really dislike, school, family stress, lack of sleep, a lot of different things. And I like to think of it as someone's asking you to be a public speaker somewhere. And even just the thought of doing that causes your stomach to feel like it has butterflies and you're not even doing it yet. So you get
Mm.
a physical response to that. But our emotions really play a part in how we do our everyday life and can affect us. And the body perceives all of those stressors the same. So that's why it's kind of like a bucket of water. It just adds into the bucket until it overflows, unless we have a way to dump that out and process it.
Okay, so somebody like say, let's use kids as an example since we're going to be talking about children primarily today. Is like they could be um, wearing clothes that their parents washed in like a really strongly fragranted detergent, and they could be really nervous about like a big sports game they have coming up or a big test they have coming up at school, and then they could also have like maybe had a really physical sports practice, or like you said, they're a golfer or they're a baseball player and they're doing this repetitive motions. So that could be kind of like a trifecta of like maybe one, like they don't have like a huge T trauma, but like all of these things collecting together
Mhm.
could be like taxing their system.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And you have to think of our kids, they don't have our full cognitive reasoning and functioning yet. So it just seems like super overwhelming. And that's when they might have like a meltdown or a tantrum or just like big anger outbursts, emotional
Mm.
outbursts, because their body just doesn't know how to process all of these things at once.
Okay, so kind of that like emotional regulation could be a cue for parents maybe if they're like why is my kid having temper tantrums all the time?
Yes, definitely. Because you might see like someone else's child and they might not be doing that. And you wonder why, and you blame your like parenting or like what is going on, what's happening, when it's really just the nervous system is being really overwhelmed
Mm.
and stuck in that fight or flight mode. And it just doesn't have the proper tools to go through that and adapt so they can start self-regulating a little bit better.
Okay, gotcha. I don't want to cut you off because you were like explaining things so eloquently, I mean, to us, but I feel like that kind of moves us into like maybe we chat through some of the phases of childhood and what are some things that are coming up in each phase that might be indicators that your kid could benefit from chiropractic care.
Definitely. So, kids are still developing. So that's why have how they adapt to the stressors really matters tremendously. Because kids don't really like grow out of things. Like the pediatrician might be like, oh, they'll grow out of that, or that's not that big of a deal. They tend to just grow into something else if the underlying stress or dysfunction isn't addressed. So that's why like being proactive and taking matters into your own hands about their health can really help. So chiropractic isn't about like chasing these symptoms or things that could be going on, but just gives a great foundation about how a child is adapting, regulating, and functioning as a whole. So we can think of like starting out with babies. So, baby's first major kind of physical neurological stress is birth. Even like a very smooth birth has a lot of like compressive forces, twisting, pulling going on. And then they're here and they have to start adapting to this new world that's totally different than the past 9 months.
Hmm.
And so I think I said on the last episode, their nervous system starts forming week 3 in utero.
Which is
And
so wild. And definitely go back and listen to that one if you haven't, because you blew my mind on all of that.
yes, and so it continues to develop rapidly in that first year of life. And the most rapid brain development that we go through throughout our whole lives is during the first 3 years of life. And that's why like young children can start learning different languages much easier
Mm.
because they have the ability to like take that in more at a young age, where as we as adults would have a harder time learning another language. It would take us a lot longer,
Hmm.
which I think is super cool. And so I'm a big proponent of kids kind of learning different languages because of that. But with babies, I often see babies for issues like colic, digestive problems, reflux, gas, constipation, bloating, latching difficulty, not sleeping well, constant fussiness, and like disliking tummy time or one sided movement patterns. Because I tell parents babies should be eating, sleeping, pooping, and moving with ease. And honestly, that can go for adults too. Never goes away. It's a really good foundation for health. And so if they're not doing those things and some symptoms might be appearing, they just need a little bit of help to get their body functioning the way they should be again.
Those are good vital signs for life, right?
Yes, yes. And so one big thing with babies is tummy time. They know tummy time's important. It's one of the milestones. But what happens when you put your baby into tummy time and they immediately start crying or they're super upset? Well, parents want to pick that baby back up, and that's fine. However, they really need that tummy time because it's not just about meeting those milestones. It's how they start building their core strength and developing the natural curves of their spine.
Okay.
So when babies are born, they have more of like a C-shaped spine, kind of just like a curve.
Yeah.
Where as we get older and develop, we have our neck curve and our lower back curve. And so that is more of like an S curve, you could say. And that's really important for just balance, movement, and posture overall. And those get developed when babies are in tummy time and they lift their head up. And then they're kind of lifting their body up to develop those two curves.
Okay. So, I'm actually glad you're explaining this because I'm not even kidding. Like several years ago when some of my friends first started having kids, like that was when I first ever even learned about tummy time. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. And honestly, like I didn't really fully understand the reason for it. So if anyone felt like clueless like me, that's just like some great information right there.
Yeah, and I was also clueless. Like when I learned that too, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And even thinking now, I'm like, maybe that's why my core is so weak. Like that could have started as a baby if I happen to not like tummy time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to like see things now and go back and see how important they could be. But a lot of babies resist tummy time because they're uncomfortable, stuck in that fight or flight mode. So getting them adjusted helps to decrease that fight or flight mode, getting them into the parasympathetic rest, digest, restore, so that they last longer stretches in tummy time. And that's one of the things that I see with babies under care is parent can set them down and they're okay. Like they're okay. We start with a few seconds, work up to a few minutes. But it's really neat to see and just knowing like overall how important that is.
Yeah. Well, and if there's parents listening who are like feeling overwhelmed because their baby is fussy all the time for whatever reason, like any of those reasons that you listed, like hopefully this is giving them some hope to be like, oh, like this is something I could try to help them out.
Definitely.
Summer is actually one of the best times to support your child's health, and it's something most parents don't think about. During the school year, kids are constantly on the go. Early mornings, long days, sitting in class, activities, sports. It's a lot on their growing bodies and nervous systems. And this is actually something I love sharing because I've known Dr. Brittany since we were on our high school dance team together, and I've watched her build this practice with such a heart for kids and families. At Foundation of Stone, Pediatric and Perinatal Family Chiropractic in Knoxville, Tennessee, they focus on helping kids support their nervous systems so they can adapt, grow, and function at their best. Summer gives families a chance to slow down a bit. There's more flexibility in schedules, less daily stress, and actually time to focus on things proactively instead of reactively. You can learn more or schedule a visit at tnkidschiro.com because summer isn't just a break. It's an opportunity to build better health going into the next season.
With meeting like the developmental milestones, like that's pretty important thing that parents are concerned with. But they think of like timing wise, like my baby should be sitting at 6 months or walking by 12 months. And the timing isn't as important as the order in which all of these occur. So it could be like 5 to 7 months with sitting. Like there could be ranges in there.
Okay.
But what's super important is more of doing the right order. So baby should be tummy time first.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want to do tummy time before they start sitting on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And then they definitely want to crawl before they walk. And so you
Mm-hmm.
don't want them to skip any of those.
Okay.
So a lot of times parents are like, my baby is so advanced. They are walking at 10 months old. But if their baby has skipped crawling, that's actually not a good thing.
Okay.
Because with crawling, you're moving one arm and one leg, then the other, back and forth. And that's activating both hemispheres of your brain and forming the synapses, starting to form those synapses between both. And so that later on helps to improve coordination, cognition function, and communication, along with just setting the foundation for more complex learning. So it's super important that they don't miss that.
Okay, well, and that's something I never knew also is like how important that order is.
Yes. So babies, they go through a lot, you just think they're living their baby life. They're super cute. They obviously go through a lot of changes. But I think it really is super important for the rest of their life, like setting up good, healthy patterns. Well, then they start walking, they start climbing and exploring. They're a toddler. And then what do toddlers do? They like to fall a lot.
Yeah.
If you go to the playground, they're just like constantly like falling down, getting back up. And that's how they're learning. But, falling multiple times, if you were to fall multiple times on a certain area, that's going to cause some dysfunction. And nowadays, probably pain as an adult. Where they're very adaptable as kids, but it still impacts their nervous system too. And so that's a big physical stressor for them. Let alone other things that can go on, like sleep disruptions, nightmares, night terrors, the big emotions, the terrible twos, that sort of area. Along with like frequent illnesses, ear infections, stuff like that. All of that is a stressor as a toddler.
Yeah, I guess if they're going to daycare, that's when you get a lot of colds and things.
Yes. And so, I see some babies that have ear infections like as a baby before they're even one. And then also, throughout preschool and toddlerhood. And with ear infections, especially, they, parents wonder, why is this happening over and over again? Like, it could be one ear, it could be both, it could switch back and forth. It could be good for a month, it could come back. And they are more common in young kids. And most parents don't realize it's because their eustachian tube of the ear is more horizontal as a child. And then as we age, it goes more diagonally. Okay. And so when it's horizontal, it doesn't drain very well, the fluid in there. And so even though most ear infections start out as viral illnesses and not bacterial, they can turn bacterial because of that fluid just sitting there in the ear.
Okay.
And so you can think of it like water in a puddle. You don't want to drink water in a puddle, but if you happen to drink water that was flowing, you might not get as sick.
Okay.
It's the same thing with the fluid in the ear. The longer it sits there, the longer that bacteria has time to cause an issue. Where if we get that fluid draining more easily with like making sure nothing's out of alignment in their neck, doing some lymphatic massage, just keeping their sinuses clear and moving, we can prevent some of that stagnation in the ear. And that can prevent going straight to antibiotics and getting that early exposure to antibiotics that just completely destroys your gut bacteria.
Yeah, absolutely. You're speaking to my area of interest with that for sure. For kids who are experiencing allergies as well, like sinus pressure and things, that's all connected, I'm assuming, to like the ear canals as well? Like, would you be doing similar work for them?
Yes, yes. And like growing up, I had tons of allergies and was like on medications early. And then later on in life, I was still having symptoms even though I was on the medications. And then once I was in chiropractic school, I was like, this isn't really even working. Why am I taking this? And
Mm-hmm.
so once I started getting adjusted, I stopped taking my medication, had like a week of bad allergies, and then my body started to adapt to not being on it and just like fighting the allergens itself. And
Mm-hmm.
now I don't take any allergy medication and haven't for years. And I wonder, as a child, if my parents had known, if that could have prevented me being on allergy medication. And I do see it a lot that kids, once we're adjusting them, they tend to not have as many symptoms like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just a way to not have to be on medication for like your entire life.
Yes, and like medications themselves are not bad. I'm not saying that,
Mm-hmm.
but everything that you take and put in your body has an effect. Whether you're eating an apple and that's a positive effect, or you're taking a medication and that could cause constipation or different symptoms that are more minor but could be avoided. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what we kind of push is what can we do naturally to help just prevent starting any of those.
Okay, makes sense.
One other thing for kids that I like to touch on is it's more of a structural thing. So it's not as nervous system focused, even though it's impacted by the nervous system function, but it is scoliosis.
Mm.
So, scoliosis is when there's an abnormal curve in the spine, and that often develops in childhood.
Mm.
And there is somewhat of a genetic component. However, it's not totally genetic based, and it can be corrected if caught early enough in most cases.
Wow.
So, with scoliosis, um, it is more common in girls, especially during like growth years. And there's a simple just test where the child bends forward and you can see the curve of their spine and you can
Mm.
see if it is curved abnormally or if it is okay, if it's more straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that should be looked at every year,
Mm.
at least,
Yeah.
because if you can catch that really early before puberty, you can make solid changes. But after that time, it's really hard to make changes. And if the curve is severe enough, that's when surgery is almost the only option,
Mm.
which we don't want for our child.
Yeah, of course. And I mean that seems to me like a very major surgery too, with a lot of recovery time.
It is. And this one is personal to me because my stepsister had a severe scoliosis. And
Mm.
shout out, my stepsister was in Haven's mom's Girl Scout troop. But, anyways, like if you look back at pictures of her when she was like 6 years old, you could see some of the classic signs of scoliosis, which is like one shoulder being really high, one hip kind of hiked up in the air, the rib cage kind of protruding forward through a shirt, and even like your shoulder blades sticking out on one side.
Mm.
And so, even though my stepmom saw a chiropractor and took my stepsister occasionally, it wasn't really regular until middle school.
Mm.
And that's when puberty's happening. So you're kind of trying to play catch up at that point.
Mm.
And so she went through like physical therapy, wearing a brace that's supposed to help correct that curve. And that has to be worn almost 24 hours a day. And it's typically on the outside of clothing. So you're in middle school, you're wearing this back brace that you're embarrassed about, more than likely. If that doesn't work, then it's surgery. And so my stepsister did end up having surgery in either middle school or early high school, where she has Harrington rods in her spine.
Wow.
And it takes up most of her spine now. And although like the scoliosis was painful to her at the time, having rods in your back isn't the most comfortable thing either.
Yeah.
And so she has other pain and issues now just from that. That's why I wish more parents knew that it really is a young age when that could be screened for and started, and where middle school is almost too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and for parents who obviously they're taking their kids to checkups and things, and they could be taking them to a chiropractor, but they could even look themselves, right? And look for that straight spine.
Yeah, I am sure there's probably some like YouTube videos online about how to do the test. It's called Adam's test, and it is literally super simple. And if they had like a concern or they weren't sure, you could easily take them into a chiropractor. They could tell you for sure if they have a suspicion on that, and then get that taken care of really early.
Yeah, great advice.
And then obviously once school starts, there's a lot of different pressures with academics, with sitting at a desk all day, friendships, bullying, trying to focus and do test taking. So even in elementary school, I see a lot of girls with anxiety come in, and it's just all of the pressures with school and social relationships. And that just continues on with middle school and high school.
Yeah, definitely.
So all of those are kind of grouped together because you have the poor posture, you're at a desk all day, you're not outside in the sun, you're not moving around enough. And then throw in nowadays like technology and phones, like looking down at your phone is a repetitive motion day after day that has now transformed the curve of our neck that we had developed great as a baby to a nice curve. And then it takes that and it makes it straighter, and then it can reverse it.
Which is
and that's
so
when
wild.
You're going to get headaches and pain and other problems as an adult. And it is starting so early now that there's technology and things like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think about all the like toddlers you see holding a tablet or something, watching a show. And yeah, it's very early.
Yeah. And I mean, that causes some other issues too, just with the bright colors and the kind of like scrolling on Instagram or something. All the dopamine hits that you're getting is similar with those child TV shows too. But even just the physical aspect of looking down all the time really, really affects the curves of our back and spine, and definitely affects our nervous system, because once our spine starts doing that, it puts us more into a fight or flight mode because our body doesn't like that. It's like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah.
It's really interesting how it all plays a role.
Are you looking for a meaningful way to slow down and connect with your little one this summer? Join Avoda and From Dust Pottery for a beautiful afternoon of bonding, relaxation, and creativity at their summer infant massage and keepsake pottery experience, happening June 20th and July 25th at Shannon Barker's Urban Farm in Columbia. Led by Shannon Livesey of Avoda Massage Therapy, this gentle infant massage class is designed to help parents and caregivers nurture deeper connection, support relaxation, and learn soothing techniques you can continue using at home. Then you'll transition into a hands-on keepsake pottery session with Shannon Barker of From Dust Pottery, where you'll create custom clay handprint or footprint keepsakes to treasure for years to come, because those tiny hands and feet don't stay tiny for long. They'll also have light snacks and refreshing beverages so you can settle in, connect with other moms, and enjoy a calm, welcoming atmosphere surrounded by nature. Whether you're a new parent, expecting, or simply looking for a memorable summer experience with your baby, this event was created with intention, care, and community in mind. Spots are limited for this intimate gathering. To learn more and reserve your place, visit fromdustpottery.com or follow along on social media for registration details. Are kids' spines going to change faster from that than adults? Because I'm thinking like, I'm looking down at my phone. I'm, doing these repetitive motions on a computer with my arms up on my desk, things like that, where I'm sure that's also contributing to like fight or flight in a human body, but I would imagine it's probably more intense for a child, but you tell me.
Yeah, it's mainly that we're seeing like some of the issues start earlier, where like historically in the past, some of these things wouldn't come up until like later in adulthood, but we're seeing some problems start a lot earlier because of it. And with that, like you said, you were at your desk and you're typing and you're doing stuff. Well, just think of like secretaries or people who have been typing. And what eventually happens is they have carpal tunnel pain because that's the small repetitive motion they did for years. So with kids, it's not as much typing or things like that, but you can kind of put that into a different perspective of doing the same thing over and over again can really alter that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then going through kids' spines, they have a lot of cartilage instead of like fully ossified bone until about 12 years old. And so they're very like malleable or soft. So that's why like when I adjust, we don't use a lot of pressure. It's very altered. And if you were to look at a child's x-rays of, let's say, their arm, you would see a huge gap between the lower portion of the arm and the upper portion and their elbow, to where you were like, why is that not connected? That looks so strange. And it's just because that joint isn't fully formed yet in a way because of the cartilage and not fully like ossified calcium bone.
Okay. So for kids doing sports like physical sports like football or like soccer and they're heading the ball, those are like the two that come to mind, but I'm sure all sorts of different physical elements. Like what is that doing if they're doing that pre 12 years old?
Yeah, that's where a lot of concerns start with like full contact football and like trying to delay that, along with concussions and things like that, which is kind of totally different stories there. But in a way, that's why they don't get as hurt as a child, because you do have more of that space in between. There's a little bit more cushion, to where if like we were heading a ball all day, or like full contact, we would be more inclined to have like a slipped bulging disc or possibly break a bone more easily because it is fully ossified.
Okay.
So in a way, it's kind of a positive, but still not something I would recommend super early on, just with concussion reasons and things like that.
Absolutely.
Another part of just like getting into middle school and high school is all the hormonal changes. That's a struggle with parents. That's when, your teenager starts to rebel against you a bit.
Yeah.
Or they have crazy mood swings and like really big emotions, and the parents don't know what to do, and there's a lot of fighting going on possibly.
Yeah.
And you can think of those big hormonal changes as like the nervous system being like, what is all this new thing going on? This is a lot of change. And so chiropractic care can help to adapt to those hormonal changes a lot easier.
Okay.
Because like activating that more parasympathetic side affects all the hormonal regulation things. Like all the hormones interact with each other, whether it's melatonin or estrogen, progesterone, cortisol. All of those are hormones that interact with each other. So like when people are going through puberty and these hormonal changes, they like to sleep a lot. It's because it's so taxing on the body that the body's begging for rest. But then a lot of times they're going from school to activity to homework to study, and it just cycles, and it's a lot on the body.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it makes sense that the old classic like teenagers sleeping till noon thing, like they're growing and their body's going through a crazy change that's demanding a lot of energy.
Yes, a lot of energy. And like going back, like what I am adjusting is called a subluxation. And that's where stress gets stuck on the nervous system and interferes with communication between the brain and the body. And so the body can still function, just not as efficiently or effectively as it was designed to. And so when I adjust, we get rid of that subluxation so the body can start adapting and taking that positive input to start to heal and regulate on its own. And sometimes that's kind of hard to grasp what that is. And so I like to think of it as you're driving on the interstate and you're trying to get to the mall. And I say West Town Mall because we're in Knoxville, but you're trying to get to West Town Mall, but that West Hills exit has a roadblock. It's closed. So you don't have to totally give up on your trip to the mall, but you're going to have to go to the next exit, get off on Kingston Pike, sit in 10 red lights, and eventually you will get there. But that was not very efficient, and you might have lost some of that message along the way. That's like what a subluxation is that roadblock. And so if we were to remove it with adjustments, you could get to the mall a lot more efficiently and effectively without possible other things getting in the way. Or like but just think if that roadblock was there really a long time, then other people can't get to the mall either, other messages. And so then you might be in standstill traffic or get in a car accident, and then the mall might be closed by the time you get there. And that's when some more like major dysfunction could appear.
Okay.
In the body. Okay. So hopefully that makes kind of sense.
Yeah, definitely. I love the visualization. I think it helps digest some of this information that feels like very intangible for people when you can't really see it.
Yes. And that is hard to kind of grasp. And it is really a different way of looking at health. So trying to be more proactive with health, catching things either before they occur or right when they occur to prevent possible down the road issues. So I think it could prevent a lot of different chronic illnesses, autoimmune challenges, major injuries, and like surgeries, things like that. If people were just a little more proactive with their health, which I know you are a big proponent of.
I was going to say, we're two peas in a pod on that one, Brittany.
Yes. And so obviously things that you can do every day is eating nutritious foods, getting enough sleep, moving your body, getting out in the sun, and like getting adjusted is a great foundation for your health since it's affecting your nervous system directly. And then like limiting those exposures to different toxins or other stressors if you can, but we can't avoid all stress. So having a way to work through that is important.
Yeah, definitely having the different tools in your tool belt when you're having a tough day. Yeah.
Yes. And a lot of the times we talk about stress as bad, but there are good types of stress too. And although it is a good stress, it still is stress on the body. So your body still has to deal with it. But It could be that you like to run. Doing a marathon is very stressful on the body, although it's great activity.
Yep.
And so it's just something else that your body can adapt to. And it's the same with like challenging yourself to learn a new task. Is kind of a stressor at first, but once you know how to do it, it kind of enhances your skill set or sets you up for something else in the future. So not all stress is bad, but you still have a lot of stress going on in your life that you can help your body to adapt to.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many different techniques and tools that people can use, to calm their nervous system and to help the stress like in their physical body too. And like chiropractic care is such a good one. So this is all like super helpful information for people who are listening who are like, well, what do those adjustments look like then? And I know you've touched on it a little bit, but and more in the first episode, but if they're like, okay, well, what does like a preventative adjustment look like if I'm not coming in for a specific pain in my back or something? Like, could you walk people through that?
Yeah, so in my office, we do 3 types of nervous system scans first to see how your body's actually functioning. So we do a heart rate variability test. We do a thermal or thermography test that rolls up the spine, and then a surface EMG or like a posture muscle test. Once I see the results of that, I come up with a care plan. So if someone is really healthy, they're doing all the right things and they don't have a lot of stress in their life, like they're adapting really well, those scans will typically look pretty good and they could possibly move straight onto my more of like wellness care recommendation. And my recommendation is still 1 time a week for those people. Because you encounter so much during a week that it really helps your body to regulate and adapt to it well. I do see people less frequently if they choose, but that is my recommendation, is 1 time a week. And for those adjustments, I'm basing it on what I'm finding that day, what those scan findings showed. And I do scans every 12 visits to monitor progress.
Okay.
And so I always say if something comes up, like you caught a cold or you had a really bad day at work, if something comes up, you should come in for an extra adjustment, a boost adjustment to help process through that so that it doesn't turn into something more symptomatic or dysfunctional. But for kids, their bodies are still developing and adapting. And so they're not just tiny adults. Their spines are different. And so with kids, if I use my hands to adjust, it is a super gentle adjustment. There might be a like pop or crack noise, which is just gas between the joints being released. However, sometimes it might not make a noise at all because those joints aren't fully formed yet, like I said. Or I'll use an adjusting tool that clicks and delivers a gentle impulse. And this is the toy version of that tool for anyone watching, but it just clicks and it makes it less scary for kids too. And I like to tell them this is keeping you healthy and strong. So it's not supposed to be scary. Kids think of the doctor and they get a little scared.
Yeah.
We're fun. We have a big open environment, lots of toys to play with. On the table if they don't want to, because some people are like, my child won't sit still. They would never want to lay down. And so we kind of meet them where they're at. If they're in the toy area, I might adjust them over there. Okay. And obviously using a clicking tool is pretty easy to do that with or fast. Then eventually they will start like coming to the table more once they know, and I think they can innately feel that it's helping them.
Yeah, for sure. So after, like, we talked a little bit about childhood up through puberty a little bit. For teens, maybe they've like gone through puberty. Are they kind of like in a similar boat as just adults then, as far as like what care would look like?
Yes, for the most part. And even for kids, you could have a 9-pound baby being born versus like a 6-pound baby, and they're going to grow at different rates. And so once they're like 1 or 2 years old, one might be 3 feet tall, while the other one's 1 foot tall. So it really depends on the child's size for adjustments too. But going into high school years, it kind of is the same. They could be a smaller high schooler, maybe not fully through puberty yet, or they could be like, this could be an adult person. Like they're done growing, like this is them. But they face tons of academic pressure, thinking about college, trying to make really hard decisions that seem silly to make because how do they know what they want to do?
Yeah.
Sports are usually more intense. And so I find that a lot of high schoolers are in chronic stress mode. They just have a lot going on. And same thing, like I would come home from school and take a 2-hour nap, like I was exhausted. But then I would still do all of my activities and didn't really know how to take a break, I would say. And that lasted into college, being just exhausted. And so I think it was a lot of like adrenal fatigue at that point that could have maybe been prevented.
Yeah, definitely.
But even like with high schoolers, they go through a lot of like anxiety, depression, definitely hormones and sports, headaches, migraines, just kind of social and life pressures. When I adjust them, it is typically more similar to an adult adjustment, but it does depend on the person. If I think they are super exhausted, then we might need to wake up their body more with adjustments. And so I might change my technique with them versus if they're just like constant mind racing, go, 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 I might need to calm down their nervous system more and do a different type of adjustment with them.
Okay. So what's the difference between those two?
Typically, everyone starts off with the go, go, go mode. You go, 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 one thing from the next. That's more of the fight or flight mode. But then if you're there so long, your body's like, I don't think I can go, go, go anymore. That's when I'm waking up and you're still so tired. You never feel well rested. You might feel like you need a nap halfway through your day, like really low energy. And just kind of sluggish feeling, that's when we've moved more towards exhaustion. So then, like, your cortisol's still going, but it's not being effective. And eventually your body's like, I'm not responding to this. Like, I'm just done. I'm pooped. So in that case, I might do more manual hands-on adjustments to try to, like, get their body going again.
Okay.
And then once that's going well, then we can look at other types of adjustments.
Okay.
But if we catch it early and they're still just in that fight or flight mode, if we just start to calm them, then they'll get more balanced a little bit quicker.
Okay. Very interesting. Are there a ton of like common questions, concerns, myths that people are coming to you with when they're starting about, or when they're inquiring about bringing their child, their baby, their toddler, their small kid, their teen to you, that you can just like air right here so that people, if they're like feeling those same questions, comments, concerns, they get them answered?
Yes. So like I said before, with babies, super gentle. I'm just holding gentle, sustained pressure like you would use to check the ripeness of a tomato or avocado. And that's the adjustment. There's no twisting, popping, cracking, anything involved at all with a baby. And that, I mean, I like to say like babies and like pets, because pets can get adjusted too. I don't do that, but shout out. They don't lie. Like something's either going on and then it's not going on. So it's really neat to see their changes, but super gentle adjustments. Babies love it typically. If they're more colicky at first, they might be a little bit upset, but eventually they're calming down. But nothing is painful or scary at all. And so with little kids, hard to sit still, might not like lay on the table. That's okay. We just meet them where they're at. They might be more fearful of the doctor's office. And if you find a chiropractor that specializes in pediatrics, their office is going to be super kid friendly. So lots of toys around to play with, a more relaxed environment, typically some healthy snacks, maybe some stickers that make it fun. And so that tends to put kids at ease and they want to come in because they're like, ooh, I get a snack. And they don't really realize anything else that's going on, but we're here for the snacks and playtime.
Yes. I mean, I want to do that as an adult.
Yes. And then as they get older, same thing, like they might be more fearful at first. So I just talk them through everything. And typically, if they're more into like elementary, middle, high school, once they experience an adjustment, they're totally fine. They don't have any concerns after that. And the parents typically don't have a concern after that either once they're actually in here. And then a lot of times, people will ask, well, how will I know that this works for my child? Well, we first identify what's going on with the scans. And so in my exam and everything, and if I thought I couldn't help them, I would refer them to someone who could. You should feel like you can trust your chiropractor because they definitely want what's best for you and your family and just to help you along your health journey.
Anything we missed that you want to make sure we touch on? I think this was like such a good overview for people.
I mean, I don't think that like healthy kids happen by accident. It's like takes proactive approach to support them at every stage. And we're just kind of shaping the future generation to be healthier than we are. And then that just keeps being a good cycle from there. And then with the school year, fitting appointments in is a huge concern with parents because of their busy schedules. And I would say if you could tone down the schedule, that would be helpful. But most people don't want to do that, and that's okay. But during the summer, schedules are a lot more free. You're not in school all day. It's a lot more open. There's a lot more time to be more proactive. So I think it's the best time to bring kids in to be adjusted. And that will help them because typically you start out more frequent visits at first. Then by the time school year comes around, you're not coming in as often, typically because you're doing a lot better. And that just helps them throughout the whole school year, just sets them up for success.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I love the preventative care, not just for children, but for adults as well. So I think this is such a great tool for people to have in their own or in their child's toolbox to just be living well and feeling great.
Yes. And like with parents, most pediatric and family chiropractors will see adults too. Like I see adults, I see moms and dads. And that makes it really nice because you can bring your child with you to your appointment if you want, and they're going to be entertained. They're going to be happy playing, and you can take a moment to just relax yourself, and then you all can all go on your way. So I think it's really neat, even for the adults, to find a really family-friendly chiropractor.
Yeah, one-stop shop. Get everyone fixed up at the same spot.
Yes.
I love it. Well, Brittany, for people listening who are in or near Knoxville and they want to come see you, tell them how they can.
Yes. So my office is in the Hardin Valley area of Knoxville. We're pretty much right off of Hardin Valley Road. Definitely accepting new patients at this time. So would love to see you. Our website is tnkidschiro.com, Tennessee Kids Chiro. And that just gives more information about our office. It also has online scheduling if someone would want to do that. And we have an office number as well. You can call or text us to get in. And then we have social media, so you can really see like what our office is like. And they have a lot of stories about other patients, like some of their improvements or more educational pieces, to really see how, if something's going on with you or your child, you can see yourself and what can happen from there.
I love it. Well, Brittany, thanks for being a three-peat guest now. So fun to get to dive more into this world of chiropractic care. And I know that the listeners are just going to benefit so much from your knowledge.
Well, I feel very privileged and thankful that you have me back on. I love your podcast and listening to you every week. And all of the guests are awesome. And just the whole natural healthcare movement, I'm definitely behind.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.